Welcome to Club Soda's Mindful Drinking Festival. We're online, global, and as always, absolutely free. Hi, I'm Drew, and I'm one of the co-founders of Club Soda.
And I'm Laura, the other co-founder of Club Soda. We help you change your drinking in ways that help you live well. So whether you're looking to cut down, stop for a bit, or quit, you can find what you need from podcasts and books and courses on joinclubsoda.com. This festival, we've brought you an amazing lineup from over 100 people from across the world.
And our programme this time really is global.
Every day starts down under with me, Sarah. As well as organising the festival in Australia, I spend my time looking for alcohol-free alternatives and tips for people who choose not to drink, but who still want to live a social, fun and adventurous life.
And I'll be wrapping up each day here in the States. I'm Amanda, your US festival host and coordinator, and I'm also a mindset coach who helps women change their relationship with alcohol so that they can start living their most authentic life.
Each day with a rolling programme of inspirational panels, conversations, social events, and opportunities to discover new low and low alcohol drinks.
So whether you want inspiration to change your drinking,
Or to connect with other people,
or you want to discover and enjoy a new low and no alcohol drink,
The Mindful Drinking Festival is for you.
cheers!
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 cheers.
Hello, everybody. Hello, panel. Hello, anybody watching. First of all, hello. Welcome, firstly, to the very first, as you've just seen in the video, Global Mindful Drinking Festival. I'm super excited today to be hosting one of the first sessions of the festival, which has all been made possible by the team at Club Soda. So a huge thanks to them for putting everything together. Thank you to the panel for joining us, and thank you to you guys for joining our session today. So my name is Zanna. I'm going to be hosting the session, and we're going to be talking today about integrating low and no alcohol options into your venues. We're going to be talking about everything from how to do that, why it's important, how to make good choices for your venue, for your customers, but also for your business. So if you have any comments, you can put them in the little box to the side. I am famously pretty rubbish with tech, but I will be trying to keep up with those throughout the session as best I can. Panel, if you notice anything, just shout them at me so that we don't miss anything, hopefully. So I'm just going to...
Oh, we've lost you a bit there, I think.
Nope. Just lost you there.
Yeah.
Can anyone else hear Zanna?
No.
Nope.
No, I can't.
Nope.
I'm attempting to lip read and not doing very good.
Something about drinks.
Yeah.
No, she's gone.
Okay, while we're waiting for the technical glitch to be resolved, should we kick off with introducing ourselves then, guys? So I'll kick off. I'm Tom from Wise Bartender. So we're an alcohol-free online retailer here in the UK. We've also got a sister website, Wise Bar Trader, which is the UK's first and only dedicated alcohol-free trade website that's aiming to make alcohol-free options accessible to a number of trade options, whether it be kind of like on-trade shops, whatever. So that's us.
My name's James Alcock. I'm sommelier and owner of the Local Larder Wine Bar in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. And we have quite a solid wine program, but we've recently introduced non-alcoholic wines to our program and have quite an extensive list of non-alcoholic wines and other non-alcoholic spirits. And we see a huge growing trend in Australia and especially Brisbane, and we're one of the first to really have such a big offering of low to no offerings.
Cool. I'm Millie Milliken. I'm the deputy editor at Imbibe UK. We are an on-trade magazine website, and we have an exhibition as well for the UK on-trade drink industry. Obviously, we write a lot about no and low drinks alongside your sort of more typical categories. And we ran our first ever No and Low Taste Awards this year, which is a panel I'm going to be doing tomorrow evening. So yeah, we come across a lot of exciting no and low brands, and also part of my job is going out a lot and getting to see how venues are implementing those sorts of products on their menus. So yeah, it's an exciting space to be in at the moment.
Awesome. My name's Dan. I'm one of the owners of Hedonist up in Leeds, and we were one of the first, I think, if not the first bar in the UK to do a one-unit cocktail menu. So we integrate kind of basically, we create drinks at 1 unit of alcohol, basically to make it easier for people to understand what they're consuming, and try and kind of like get rid of that blurred line of what low and no is. Been in this for about 14 years. We've got 1 bar in Leeds, and we've got 1 creative brand agency as well, when we work a lot with the likes of Britvic, London Essence, people like that, to kind of educate the on-trade on soft drinks as well as alcoholic drinks. So yeah, it's me.
Hi everyone, my name's Luke Whearty. I'm from BYRDI, all the way down in Melbourne, Australia. And yeah, BYRDI, we've opened just before the world went a bit crazy a few months ago. And we're a bar that focuses solely on using Australian products, and I guess putting
I'm back.
A focus.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm on my phone, so fantastic. This was always going to go well. Sorry, who have I interrupted at this point?
That's all right. I said everything. It's all good.
I now can't hear anyone. Okay, we're good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
All good.
Fantastic. Thanks for saving that, guys. So, having done intros, did we finish off intros?
Yeah.
Perfect timing. Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Awesome. I planned it like that. It's working out fine. Good. So having done intros, I'm going to jump straight in. So starting out with just a little bit about low and no for anyone that doesn't know. We're going to be using the phrase kind of low and no a lot today. We won't go down into the minefield of exactly the difficulties with some of the alcohol inconsistencies across different countries, but largely we're talking about anything 1.2% and below for low alcohol, and 0.5 or 0.05 in some very difficult cases for alcohol free. So I want to start with you, Millie. Low and no from an industry perspective, and kind of all the work that you do with Imbibe. Do you think that this is just a phase? Like, we hear a lot of the time about kind of millennials drinking less, or kind of well-being stuff. We hear about lots of kind of bad phrases in reference to mindful drinking. Do you think it's finally changing and going to become part of our kind of drinking culture?
Definitely. I think, having been on bar Imbibe, and I used to be a food journalist beforehand, I probably on some of these panels maybe one of the only people that probably drinks more alcohol than I drink non-alcoholic drinks. But I've definitely seen over the last year or so the amount of products and awareness around this category of its own has really grown amazingly. And I think what's really been great is seeing the education of bartenders around it, and not seeing it as it's got alcohol in it or it doesn't have alcohol in it. It's the flavor profile and the way that products have evolved as well, to not just replace, what people know as a gin or a beer, but they're creating products that are their own products in themselves. And I think, as people get older, lifestyles are busier, people aren't working in offices as much anymore, so they want to be a bit more social, hopefully post-COVID. I think people are using those more sociable spaces throughout the day, and that requires the venues to rethink their offering. You need to make sure that your offering is going to help someone and, supply a customer who's there all day. And that means having those sorts of drinks which are lower in ABV or no ABV. And I think, it's a really exciting category at the moment. And I think at the beginning, a few people might have thought it was just a sort of flash in the pan or a trend. But I think, if anything, the last year, and especially the last 3 or 4 months, have shown is that it certainly isn't. It's really one of the biggest players in the drinks industry at the moment. So, it's extremely exciting.
Yeah. Cool, thank you. So moving on to our guys that kind of more on bar ops. So Dan, James and Luke, with low and no in venues, kind of all from your own independent experience, why bother in a really kind of straightforward sense? Why bother? What made you think this is something you needed to start integrating into your menus, and what kind of approach did you take when thinking about those options? So what kind of products were you looking at? Where did you go to look for them? Were there any challenges? So let's start with Dan.
So obviously one of the main reasons why we did it and we started integrating into kind of the offering that we've got at the bar is, like Millie said, it is a change, and I think it is a change in society, in the way society actually views drinking, and especially the younger generation. So there's also a bit of longevity play in there. So we're trying to think of what our customers are going to be in the next 10 years. Hopefully, touch wood if we're still there. But yeah, it was about bringing kind of that offering to the venue, especially like Leeds is a very weekend orientated city. People party hard on a weekend. So to try and drive revenue during the week, it's trying to let people know that if you drink alcohol, it's not necessarily going to get you drunk, which is obviously the instant affiliation you have. I think a lot of people have with alcohol. So it's trying to bring that down and get a better understanding for people when they are drinking, which is why we did the Unit 1 menu. Because one thing I've always said with no and low, it's a great category, great catchphrase. What does it really mean? I think we've already touched on the point on, in the UK, low ABV might mean 1.5 or 0.5 or 2. In Australia, it might mean something else. But also people's perception of what low ABV is. For me, it might be 15%. For James, it might be 30%. I don't know. I don't know why yours was high, mate. Sorry. So when we obviously tried to develop the Unit 1 menu, it gives that kind of ability for the customer to count, because everyone counts these days. You count your steps, you count your calories, you count how long you sleep at night. So yeah, trying to integrate that and showcasing that it's not there's still flavour and still good drinks to be made that way as well.
Yeah, I want to talk about your one unit menu actually a little bit later when we talk about the kind of you're right, the inconsistencies and the complication for a lot of people, I think, with what those terms actually mean. James, for you, with the Larder and Wine Bar, what kind of approach did you take when building that into, because you've got a bit of a smaller menu, am I right? So how did you build that into something?
Yeah, we have, we focus, mainly on a big wine list. So we have about 300 wines, but a lot of them now in our wine shop, which is part of our venue. So we're running a smaller list at the moment. We've always offered a non-alcoholic option, but it might have just been one or two. And personally, I stopped drinking alcohol about 1.5 years ago, but I taste wine every day. Sometimes up to 50 wines a day. It's part of my job as being a sommelier, but I haven't swallowed alcohol in 18 months. For me, I didn't need to have anything to replace it. I was just happy to move to very tasty sodas or mineral water with lime or something like that. But for a lot of other people that aren't drinking, there's really not much on offer there for them apart from soft drinks. And, that's really boring, or mocktail. And we started to see a lot of non-alcoholic beers coming through. We list Moritz Lager 0.0, which actually tastes like a lager, which is quite good. Of course, from the UK, the Seedlip, spirits, they've been really big in Australia. And then moving to wine, we started to see more and more high-quality non-alcoholic wines coming to the market. And just last week launched 2 of Marlborough's, leading Sauvignon Blanc producers, released 2 0.0% Marlborough Sauvignon Blanc. So they're going to go huge. We've just ordered ours in. And we've been taking on some, Grenache and Syrah Tempranillos from Torres in Spain, and some Cabernets from Argentina, and some non-alcoholic wines, or should I say alcoholic wines that have been de-alcoholized. So they've had the alcohol removed. The flavour profile still takes some getting used to, because alcohol provides flavour and sweetness. But for those people that, really want to join in with those social tables and have a glass of wine, or if you're pregnant, or if you're driving, now we've got those options where they don't have to be isolated to a Coca-Cola. So that was really important. But we have seen a real increase in demand, especially in our retail shop for non-alcoholic beverages. So we're very glad to be a part of the growing trend.
Well, it sounds incredible, and it also sounds like already from both of you guys that a key thing here is really understanding, which goes without saying, kind of for managing a venue, but really understanding your customer base and understanding neatly how to segue that into your offer. And it's not a one-size-fits-all thing. So, Luke, for you, for example, with BYRDI, firstly, I wanted to kind of ask again the same sort of question: how did you go about your approach with low and no on your menu? But also, did you find that it was maybe a little bit easier, kind of having a slightly more, shall we say, interesting high-end menu that you have there? You've got quite a unique take on kind of the drinks experience. Did you find that was an asset or a challenge when you were looking at bringing in low and no?
It actually came about from almost a frustration of mine years ago, because, like you said, with the menu and with the cocktails and everything across the board that we put on the menu, there's a lot of research and development. There's a lot of work that goes into the menu every single day. And we're incorporating a lot of techniques and using different equipment that's out of, modern kitchens and science labs, that sort of thing. So it can be quite a lot of work. And then I would get frustrated with people coming in and just saying to us over the bar, okay, which drink is the strongest drink? What's got the most alcohol? What will get me pissed the most? And I sat there, and this is over 10 years ago now, sitting there saying to myself, why do I bother? So it was actually that why do I bother question, but in reverse. But then I just decided to flip it. And that was when I started actually not listing the alcoholic component on our drinks menus, and to try and get people to think about drinks more in terms of flavor and the produce rather than what booze is in it. And that was a really big turning point for me, because then people I found were coming in and really wanting to experience what we're all about for the right reasons. And so, ever since then, we've sort of, I guess, had a focus not really on alcohol, although, it is a big part of what we do. Obviously, we're a cocktail bar at our core, but the main focus each day is what produce we're getting in. It's a very seasonal approach to drink making. And so the spotlight is taken away from the alcohol side of things. And I really enjoy that, because if someone can get the same exact experience without having any alcohol, we can provide that to them.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really interesting. Thank you. And I think it's good to get kind of three such different perspectives on, your starting points and, really understanding what your drinks offers are, how they're appealing to people, taking that and kind of just finding the right thing that fits really for your venue. Tom, for you, with running Wise Bartender, extraordinaire provider of low and no, what kind of experience have you had with venues, either venues that are maybe a little bit more established in having those options on their menu, but particularly I'm interested in people that maybe, have you communicated with people that have said, I haven't really done this before? What's their kind of feeling been? Has it been one of trepidation, curiosity? What kind of experiences have you found with trade?
So I mean, the structure of our trade website is that people have to sign up before they get an account, just so we can kind of approve that obviously they're trade supplier, because everyone else can go for the retail site. And even through lockdown, we had an increase of people signing up as trade venues. That was really intriguing, and there was a real change in kind of what venues were signing up. So at the start of the year, it was very much kind of what you'd expect, like bars and restaurants. Then kind of during the Corona coaster, we've had like farm shops, delis, so all of those businesses that have had to be a little bit more agile through this period, and they've brought in their own online delivery service or their local delivery service. They've wanted to adapt and change what their offering is. And actually, the number of bars now signing up is continuing to go up. And I think one of the reasons for that is that Obviously, you know, people who are in bars always had to be careful with, I guess, the number of people who are like intoxicated or drunk or whatever on their premises. But I think with kind of the coronavirus restrictions, and then possibly people need to be a bit more aware of that, and maybe people themselves are more aware. Okay, they want to go out and relax, but maybe they don't want to get to that stage where they completely lose their inhibitions. You know, risk their own health ultimately in the short term. So. So yeah, we've had a lot of inquiries in kind of we do get a lot of people saying, well, what should we stock? So I kind of go to we haven't really got like a proven method, but I go to answers. We'll look what your current drinks are and what's on sale in your area, and maybe try and ease people into it. So you could look at some of the mainstream brands. So if you've got Heineken alcoholic on tap, well, maybe consider a Heineken Zero. It's easy for someone to palate that, you know. Or the Ghost Ship's a great example as well. You know, and you've got the ciders coming through like Thatchers and Sheppies and things. So you can go to those brands, and then as your patrons start to get used to those drinks, well, you can start to bring in something that's a little bit different. So perhaps some of like the low and no brewers. So you've got like Big Drop, Navan, and Lucky Saint. Those ones all coming through, producing fantastic alcohol-free beers. But and you know, they're doing some great strides in getting themselves known. But it just helps a little bit more where people have been eased into the market. And then I guess the final step is you can go a little bit left field. So for many people, kombucha is quite a new thing. Some of the sour beers are quite new as well. You know, Binary, who are supporting the event, they produced a beer that's designed for wine lovers. It's a fantastic beer that goes with food. Yeah. So you can start to really push people's like boundaries and what their tastes are. So that's kind of what we recommend, and then you can pitch your bar somewhere or your shop somewhere along that kind of roadmap.
Yeah, and I think your point is a good one, and kind of what everyone's touched on really, which again is if you're not sure and it's something you're considering as a venue, maybe just try it out with one product. I think we're going to come on a little bit when we talk about selling, to not just try one product, shove it at the back of your fridge and say, oh, I didn't sell, like, never mind. We need to really get behind it if we're going to be adding that to our menus. We'll come on to that a little bit later. But basically identifying what your customers are looking for, sticking pretty closely to that, and really getting your team behind it, I think is crucial. So I'm going to divert a little bit over to the C word, coronavirus, because why not? The word du jour. I'm not going to spend too long on this, but I think it's something that obviously is on pretty much everyone's mind. And actually, if I could just ask you guys, if you're not talking, to just pop yourselves on mute unless you want to like chime in, just because we're getting a little bit of feedback. But Millie, I wanted to start with you before you put yourself on mute. I saw on Imbibe had an article recently about the research done by Wine Intelligence about the kind of slightly actually polarizing nature of coronavirus on hospitality. Is this something that you're getting a sense across the industry? I mean, it kind of goes without saying the answer is yes, people are worried about it. What's your take on it? What are you kind of experiencing that people are most concerned about with the effects of COVID?
I think people at the moment are really just trying to get people through the door. There's definitely a sense of a lack of confidence when people are having to change their habits. And it's been interesting looking at how people have been drinking at home and how that can maybe relate into how they will then be able to get back into venues and what venues can do to facilitate that. I mean, specifically in the no and low space, I think the BBPA figure something like 14.8% rise in non-alcoholic beer during lockdown. So, you know, figures like that, you know, it's all stats and statistics and things like that. But these things can help venues, I think, work out what people might be prepared to drink when they go back into venues and how to lure them, so to speak, back in. And I think it's just that customer confidence, really. You know, I think people are going to be worried about if they get really drunk, how are they going to socially distance, or if someone else in the bar gets really drunk, how are you going to stay away from them? So I think it's just a case of making sure that venues are working to make their customers feel as safe as possible. And I do think no and low, you know, plays a huge part in that progression, I think, to people getting back into hospitality venues.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of kind of more operational stuff, kind of going off the back of that, is there anything that either bar operators, Tom, I know you've seen a massive spike in sales, kind of as you just mentioned during coronavirus and lockdown and everything, both trade and a lot of customer based stuff. Was wondering if you could kind of add into that.
Yeah, so I mean, lockdown really changed people's buying habits, and I guess how they bought. A lot of people, felt they had it wasn't as easy to go to their local supermarket and just pick off the shelves. So pretty much overnight, our sales went up 500%. In that presented its own challenges. So it was like waking up to the Christmas rush, having not realised it was happening the next day. So we kind of worked through that, but also what people were wanting to buy really changed, and in that pattern that I talked about how how people can integrate drinks into bars is really what we've seen people do in their own homes and lifestyles. So kind of the first 2 to 4 weeks of lockdown, our kind of stock holding, which traditionally is a lot of kind of the craft producers that people can't necessarily get hold of as easily, it suddenly flipped. All of a sudden, we were selling what was on the shelves of the supermarkets, and we were getting through pallets in a week. It was crazy. We were sort of seeing where we could get hold of stock, but then so people were buying their kind of like their case of Heineken or San Miguel, whatever. But then actually they were coming back a couple of weeks later, and they were trying something a little bit different. Oh, okay, that worked well. I managed to buy that online, so I'm going to try the mixed lager pack now. So people's buying habits really changed over that period. What we've seen now is a much more of a balance. So some of those supermarket kind of led products are still doing well for us, but we're seeing like the craft producers really fly as well, which is really fantastic to see that people are testing their own boundaries. So that in kind of over that period as well, we've kind of tried to be a little bit more adventurous with what we bring in to sell as well. So we brought in a few more kombuchas, some of the ready to drinks. I said the sour beers. It's just with the summer weather, sour beer is fantastic. So we've seen those really go up as well in the number of sales as well. So yeah, it's been an exciting time, and kind of who knows what's around the corner with how sales are going to change again. So we wait and see, and we'll react accordingly.
Yeah, I think it's such a turbulent time, both for trade and subsequently for people at home, that I'm sure sales are just going to be up and down all over the place. For the guys that are running bars, so Dan, James and Luke, do any of you kind of have any further insight? I don't know, like where your specific venues are at right now in terms of operation, but do any of you kind of have anything interesting going on in terms of your sales and Low and No, either through this period? Are you anticipating it, kind of seeing a rise in Low and No sales as and when you do start to reopen a bit more normally? We touched earlier on, for example, people maybe not wanting to be as inebriated, people being a little bit more either health conscious because of Corona or kind of feeling safe in their environment. Does anyone have any kind of insight on that from a bar's perspective?
We're pretty lucky in Queensland because we were really down to 2 active cases,
right,
with no new cases for a long time. So our restrictions have been lifted for quite some time. So we've been trading like normal. But one thing I will note is that it's been busier than it's ever been for all of the venues that I speak with. In fact, most of the restaurants and bars have doubled their revenue pre-COVID, us included. And I think that because everyone was in lockdown for so long, they're all out and about so much. We're a neighbourhood bar, so we're in the suburbs. We're only 5 k's out of the city, but we're definitely in the suburbs. So we get a lot of repeat trade as well. We've seen an increase in alcoholic beverage, non-alcoholic beverage, food and just diners in general. But just having that extra offering that we've put in place over the last 4 weeks, we've had a huge increase of people coming to pick up non-alcoholic drinks to take away on weekends away, and that never happened before. So I'm starting to see people coming and buying quite a lot of non-alcoholic, sparkling wines and beers and non-alcoholic spirits to take with them and their friends, because they are being more health conscious, and they don't want to be pissed and wake up with a hangover. They want to enjoy themselves. So we're definitely seeing that.
Right, so it's in the bar as well as takeout. That's really interesting.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can I ask James a quick question? Sorry.
Yeah, go for it. No, go nuts, please.
I was just wondering, because obviously it's great to hear that kind of those sales have really boosted kind of since they come out of lockdown. I just wondered what the difference was in the restrictions for bars between here and the UK. So you've got to kind of like sign a guest book type of thing here, and trying to maintain social distance as best as possible. What have you got kind of in Australia and Queensland in particular?
Yeah, it's very different state to state. You basically run like separate countries at the moment because of the borders being shut. So when we went down to full lockdown, everybody did. So everything was shut apart from, takeout. Then when we reopened, it was for 10 people only. And social distancing for us has always been 1.5 meters per person, or 4 square meters, per person in a room. So, for a long period, I think it was for the first month, it was 10 people were all allowed. That was it. Then we could do 20 people. Then it was 20 people in each section. And now it's, for us, it's 50. So, we're that's really what we want to be doing anyway. So for us at the moment, there's no difference. Social meters, are still there, the social distancing, but it's only 1.5 square meters, per person in a room now as opposed to 4. But I'm sure that's going to change again as we get clusters grow here. But at the moment, that's it. Everything's kind of back to normal. A very, very different story for Luke in Melbourne, and also Sydney. So every state's got a very different setup at the moment.
So thanks, James. So Tom, actually, good question, because I actually didn't know about that. But Luke, for you then in Melbourne, hip and trendy Melbourne, how's that worked out for you with low and no sales during COVID?
Melbourne doesn't feel so hip and trendy at the moment. It's it's a pretty sad place to be. It's been a tough one actually. It's we've seen we're restricted to, we can only operate on a takeaway basis. We've got like a delivery service, so 5 days a week we're driving around and delivering as much as we can, cocktails and low and no alcoholic options. I would say, there's, if I'm going to be honest, I think that there's still more alcoholic sales. And I think that's one thing that's can be quite concerning, is like during g'day guys, how's it all going? Oh, great crowd. Great crowd. Everyone's super switched on. Good on you guys. Unfortunately, it's like during tough times, a lot of people revert maybe to alcohol, which isn't the best thing, obviously. And it's a tough one. At the moment, we're literally just trying to do what we can. The restrictions are pretty harsh down here at the moment, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better. We're in like a second lockdown. So we actually opened up again in June, and so we were able to trade for a month. Like James was saying, it was pretty restricted. We could only have about 15 people at max for that month, with social distancing and the like. And then everything sort of went downhill quickly again. So we're in the second lockdown. The second lockdown seems to be somewhat worse than the first, because everyone's sort of lost a bit of their spirit and drive this time around, which is tough to see. But yeah, we can just do what we can, and hopefully we can try and sort of come out of this. So that sounded like very doom and gloom. Sorry, it's not all that. But,
yeah, it's so interesting. Everyone's kind of different responses to that, I think. And yeah, I'm sure we're going to see much more change kind of continuing to happen. It's definitely about a kind of adaptability, I think, with that. And I think the low and no is definitely going to continue to play a part in, offering people as wide a set of options as possible. Dan, I wanted to actually come to you. I'm going to move on a little bit from COVID, just because I'm conscious of time. And I wanted to move on to kind of selling low and no. So in the kind of the more general sense, forgetting the COVID state, as it were. So we've got our drinks, we've thought about pricing. For you with the Hedonist, I think I'm right in saying you kind of rotate your offer and your styling. Is that right? What I was reading online?
So yeah, when we first opened 5 years ago, we used to change concept every 3 months.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We were basically permanent. Don't do it. Don't do it. Ever.
I know it sounds so stressful.
Yeah, so we did that for about 3.5 years. So yeah, we went from like a whiskey bar to a Californian surf shack to a gin kitchen to a ski lodge, like multiple different connotations. And then obviously then we did kind of stop doing that because of the business commitments and time basically. So we kind of took everything together in that. So we've seen how people react differently to different offerings, which is which we found quite interesting. So it's trying to take the best of each offering. Which is kind of what we did for our no and low offering as well. Yeah. So we kind of looked on in the market and kind of like, how do people kind of offer no and low products in their venues, be it a shop or be it a bar? And we found, which I'm guessing is probably were you about to ask about the Project One menu? That's kind of
I was kind of going to tie in a load of different things because I'm like, time's running out. There's so much more I want to talk about. But I was going to talk about your 1 unit menu. How do we kind of decide how to talk about those things? And also, yes, touch on the fact that, which you've kind of already answered, the fact that constantly rotating and moving your space is not something that everyone will have the benefit of, but presumably has given you a really good kind of training ground for figuring out what works and what people respond to.
Yeah, 100%, and I think it also gets rid of a bit of, for a better word, arrogance in your venue and naivety as well. You're thinking that what you think is right is going to be right. It's not. You do fail sometimes. So it's a bit of about trial and error. And then I said we took that kind of mentality. Obviously, we don't change anymore. We are just one fixed abode. But we took that mentality into our low and no offering, because one of the big things I saw on the market was no one really understood what it meant as an entire thing. I think there's not enough education about the entire category and getting people to understand what this no and low phrase means. I describe it as a Pinot Grigio in wine. Like, people know it and people say it, but they might not understand what it is. Which is why when we looked at the Project One menu, when we developed that, it was to kind of create that kind of standardization across the UK, because I'd probably say 90% of people in the UK know what a unit of alcohol is, and how many units they're meant to consume a week. So if we could create drinks to fit that parameter, then it makes it easier and for people to understand what they're consuming and how much they should be consuming of that. And the big thing about that is it actually opens us out to utilizing all the products on the back bar, not just low and no products. We have put a unit one drink on with Ray Nephew in, and I don't think no one would ever know or associate Ray Nephew with a no and low drink. It was a very small amount, but we wanted that kind of punchy flavor that Ray has to come through in the drink. So it is massively flavor led. Also, from a business point of view, we did want to increase sales midweek, because again of that association with drinking alcohol means you're going to get drunk. If you get drunk, you get hungover. If you get hungover, you get not productive. So therefore, you don't do it during the week. And we were like, how do we improve sales during the week to do that? And it was working. And on the point of COVID, one of the interesting things was we put our Project One drinks on our takeaway menu and our at-home menu, and they sold better than the full alcohol versions, alcohol drinks, which is quite interesting. And not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, so I think that does kind of tie into what Millie was saying about that kind of mentality change in society. But yeah, that's kind of how we wanted to do it.
Is super interesting. Sorry.
Yeah, it's. I think the guys have said it as well. It's talking about and educating the customer about it, but not in a way where they feel awkward ordering it. Because sometimes it's like, if you were that one person not drinking in the group, you would make that person would feel awkward. And if you do that in a menu, so you integrate your low and no drinks in your menu, not with its own section or within a section, within the complete offering, it just becomes part of the norm. Then it's not you're not just physically going for that. It just becomes a norm. It becomes a flavor led order rather than a booze led order, which I think Luke was talking about before when you took away the booze on your menu, which is a great idea, by the way.
Yeah, that's
just
I think
yeah. That was
sure near Scout, Luke, or there's a Scout in Melbourne. Is that right? And they do a similar sort of thing, I've noticed. So
yeah, there was a Scout. There was a Scout in Sydney. Matt's one of my best mates in the industry who had Scout in London and Sydney, and we have a very similar approach. He's just about to open his new bar next year in Sydney, actually, called which is incorporating like reusable and recycled elements, which would be really exciting. But Matt incorporates a lot of the same stuff that I do in terms of focusing on flavor first, I guess, rather than booze.
Yeah. And James, actually, I also noticed that you use liberated from alcohol on your menu, which I think is an incredible phrase. I really like that. So it's kind of celebratory and positive. And I think on a similar note,
stole it.
Damn it. Yeah. You should admit that. I would never have known. But it works really well, I think, because it's not the kind of it's highlighting that something is different. I think this is a constant challenge we face. Is like, for some people, it's very important to know that there's no alcohol, but how do we do that without seeing it as a bad thing? So that's why I think it's such a brilliant choice.
Yeah, I think I really like Dan's comment there about integrating the drinks into the normal menu, so you're not feeling like a bit of a outsider if you've ordered a non-alcoholic or low alcoholic beverage, because people do still, especially in the UK and Australia, I think feel a bit weird about going out and not drinking alcohol. But hopefully that's about to change. We really look for non-alcoholic beverages based on flavour profiles as well. But certainly we want to get behind people that don't drink or have chosen not to drink that evening and support them, and not make them feel weird. Oh, you're not going to drink alcohol. More like, we're here to support you. We've got some great drinks for you. Have a taste of this. It's incredible. And that liberated from alcohol, is really us just pushing that,
stealing
stealing that phrase, but pushing that acceptability of it open.
Sure. I think I'm just going to touch very quickly on one question that did pop up that I'm desperate to answer so that I did my job, and then I'm just going to ask you guys one more quick question and then we're going to wrap. So the question was, how do you guys select your low and no products? I think we've kind of touched on that a little bit from your individual perspectives, but I would say what we've kind of covered during the session is really just look at your existing menus, look at what kind of experience your clientele is genuinely after a lot of the time, and link it as closely as possible to that. Start small, don't go too left field necessarily, and kind of build it up bit by bit. So very, very quickly, thank you all for joining in the panel. I'm going to ask you just in one line, if possible, put you all on the spot. I hate these questions, but I don't have to answer. What is the best reason or best kind of motivation for integrating low and no into menus in bars and venues? James.
What's the best motivation to integrate them, you mean?
What's the best reason to integrate low and no onto your menu?
Yeah, well,
why should you do it?
It's not ostracizing anyone that's not drinking alcohol. We're trying to be inclusive of everybody, and that's you're pregnant, everyone who doesn't want to drink. So let's just we want to have an offer for everybody.
Great. We've got 45 seconds. Millie.
I think at the moment, something that's really important is the sense of community. And I think hospitality venues are now more than ever being seen as somewhere where people can meet and see their friends again. And if that means that people who don't drink feel that they can go into those spaces and have as good a time as their friends who do drink, then I think that's extremely important.
I'm going to have to stop you there. I think we're going to have to go. I'm so sorry we didn't get around to the other three of you. But thank you guys all so much for the panel, for sitting through my tech issues. I've really enjoyed it. I hope everyone else has. Enjoy the rest of the festival, guys. And yeah, go out and drink some Fab Low and No drinks. Thank you so much. Take care, everyone.